Here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome to day 2 of Sorcery Salon. If this is the first day that you have checked in, there's one more video from yesterday talking about sovereignty and bodies. And so you might be thinking, what is sovereignty? What is sovereignty, Jennifer? I don't freaking get it. Well, sovereignty is where you make you the center of your universe. Not your spouse, not your kids, not your sandwich generation thing that might be going on, not your workplace, not your extended friends or family. You are the center of your universe. Y-O-U universe. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going live at 2:22 for 22 minutes talking about relationships and everywhere you are not sovereign as a being in your relationships. And hey, have you ever been taught to be sovereign in your relationships? Oh no. No. Like maybe you came from really grounded people who are like, ask you something and like, do you actually feel like doing this? And as a little tiny being, your choices were respected. Maybe you actually had conscious parents, but maybe you didn't. And, I know that actually my mom, when we were kids, was a very free-thinking person. And, even though she did a lot of overriding of our feelings, a lot of overriding, it was certainly quite a bit less than what she received. And, we only hope to be an improvement on our source family. And maybe we will be, maybe we won't be. At the end of our lives, if we've done more good than harm, then that's where we need to come from. Like, what would it be like? What would it feel like? What would it smell like? What would it feel like to be fully sovereign in your relationships with other people? Well, it has to start, guys, with your relationship with yourself. And so yesterday we were talking about receiving information from the body and then just freaking going with it. And I would say that that's probably the biggest thing, is like receiving information from the earth vehicle, from your interface mechanism, which is your earth vehicle, your body, your meat suit, and then being sovereign in your relationship with it, with you, with your physical being, and then allowing that to go one layer out, just one layer out. So that's the people who actually live in the house with you, or people whose houses that you have lived in. And then also, your primary friend love relationships. Or, if you have somebody that you're in love with that you don't live with, then that person, obviously. And sovereignty is giving yourself permission to make the choices that are correct for you. And in many cases, you've never freaking done that. And that's why that's phase 2 of Sorceress of Success. So what is a Sorceress of Success? Well, we look at the word sorceress. Sorceress. You are the source of your life. You are the source of love coming into yourself. You are the source of wealth. You are the source of health. Not somebody else, not me. I mean, I can facilitate every day, all day, and I freaking love facilitating, love it, and asking questions, and like reading people's auras, and looking at their astrology charts, looking at their gene keys, looking at their human design, looking at what they say and do, and putting all those vectors together and creating a life with them that is really, really successful. And so when we talk about success, sometimes in the metaphysical world, people are like, well, success, gosh, Jennifer, why are you always talking about money and success? Well, I feel like well, what I talked about yesterday, like if a lot of us, like the vast majority of us who are in the coaching and consulting space, who are in the healing space, feel really freaking successful, the rooms that we walk into, we format the room. And do you guys know what I mean? Like, format the room. You walk in and people are like, who the hell is that? And so you don't have to chase clients. You don't have to chase relationships. You don't have to chase anything. People come to you. They're like, oh, that feels delicious. And like, maybe it's kind of like me, like children, I do not. I like, my kids are grown up, and I don't like, I'm not like, I don't chase babies or anything like that, but they climb in my lap. They're like, who the hell is that? I want to know that lady. And so I just notice it. I'm like, okay, cool. Your kid wants to meet me. And if I don't feel like being affectionate with some stranger baby that wants to meet me, then I just don't. And it's like that, right? So you may be the type of person where kids, animals want to meet you. Like, you're a very high frequency being. And so how does that work for you in your primary relationships? I'm talking about the inner circle relationships. And I do talk about this quite a bit in my broadcasts, in my facilitation, because I would say that this is really the biggest place that people are locked up, is where they are not sovereign in their relationships. And so symptoms are, you have to check with other people to find out how you feel about what it is that you are going to do next. You have to check with other people to see whether or not it's okay with them that you are making the choices that you are making. You have to check with other people and like wait for them to like give you permission to choose something that you really want to choose. Yeah, it's sort of everywhere you have to check outside of yourself, you guys. Everywhere you have to check outside of yourself to make choices that you just want to make. And not that you're going to like go off and you're just going to like be wild, but it may be that you need your permission, need to give yourself permission to make choices that don't make sense to anyone else. So I wonder, like, what would that be like for you? Like, if you started to make choices that make sense to you in your thought process, in your heart process, in your gut process, and, all of the different derivatives of that. Like, when you are sovereign in your body, when you go through that process with me, you get a ton of different vectors that you can start to use in your personal life and get that information for yourself, and then start to get bigger in your aura, bigger in your sovereignty, bigger in your, choices. And then what happens is people don't question you because you don't question you. Like, have you been around people where you're like, ooh, I better not ask them that. I better not do that. And that's because their aura is formatted with, don't come at me with anything that's less than respectful. And so what would that be like for you to have your aura formatted, even with your intimates, with don't come at me? Like, don't bug me. Isn't this just so interesting? I remember having parts of my life where I was just like, God, so shocked at what people thought that they could ask me. People thought that they could like invite me to, or I don't know, just so very, very interesting. In your human design chart, there is it's actually more gene keys than human design, but it is your unconscious moon, and that actually shows you. So if you look on your human design chart, your red moon shows you the frequency that people are attracted to, that they want to talk to you about, or they want to like unconsciously bring something to you. And mine is a line 3 there. And so the line 3 is promiscuity or playfulness. And so I'm thinking I'm being playful and they're thinking I'm flirting. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. And so having a look at that for yourself, you guys, knowing that information, knowing what people think that they are going to get from you, knowing what people think that you are going to deliver to them. And there's so much in the projection field. There are profiles in human design that really, really get projected on. And so I can tell you who they are when we work together, and, you know, we can start to work on that projection field. And your responsiveness to that projection field. And that's something that I say all the time. Like, if you watch my shows, I'm like, responsible and responsiveness, just because somebody brings you something doesn't mean that you have to do something for them. Like, your response could be like, I'll think about it. And then once you are sovereign in your body, then that really reflects in your aura, you guys. People are like, wow, Jennifer said she'd think about it. I'm going to leave it with her. And before, I would say, you know, when my aura was like bleeding, I was just like, oh, let me help you, let me love you. That's what my body thought was the valuable thing, is helping people and loving people. And I was doing it more than I was willing to help and love myself and fill up my own cup and be sovereign in my own body. And so all of this process, oh my goodness, I have so many third lines. I am the mad scientist, and I will fall up the stairs, I will fall down the stairs to give you the information that you need in order to be successful. And success, for me, oh my goodness, it could be anything for you, but for me, I would love to have like an off-grid cabin in the woods. I would love to have like one of those wood-powered hot tubs. I would like to have a freezing cold plunge pool and go hot tub, plunge pool, hot tub, plunge pool. And, you know, like there's so many different things where I would like to be way more connected with nature. And so that is success for me, is a deep connection with nature. And so what success is for you is going to be your version of success. And so when we start to vector that, when we start to collect the data, you'd be so surprised, you guys, when I start to collect the data with my clients, they do not know what success is for them. They just don't. And especially they don't know that they can give themselves permission. So say it's a Louis Vuitton bag, they have to ask their husband about the Louis Vuitton bag. I'm like, Jesus, just make the money and buy the bag. It's your business that makes the money, which is yours, that you can go and buy the bag with. And if it's a freaking, you know, did you know that Maserati makes an SUV? Like, it makes a little truck, a Maserati truck. So fucking cool. So if it's like a little Maserati SUV and you're like, yes, that lights every neuron up in my body, that makes me glow and giggle, then freaking have it. If your business is making your money and you want to spend it on a Maserati, just fucking go for it. That's what I say. And so you know you're not sovereign when you are allowing other people to make financial decisions with your money. You know you're not sovereign when you are allowing other people to make decisions with what they think that they're going to do with your talents, your capacities, your abilities, your chi, your aura. And there's a ton of projections out there. And the minute you start to notice what role that people think that you are providing to them, that is such a freaking game changer. Like, if anything, starting to notice, what is the role that this person wants me to have? And oh my goodness, being aware of it and then asking, like, wow, body, do we want to have that role? Do we want to be someone's blow up sex Barbie? Do we want to be somebody's sugar mama? Do we want to be, you know, step and fetch, like an administrator or a maid or a housekeeper or a cook. Like what are these roles, and do you actually want that? Does that light you up? Does that feel fun for you? Is a really great freaking question. Like this module, gosh, I'm just like getting so much information from you guys. Hold on. The sovereignty of your relationships starts with you, obviously. And, if you're watching this, some really great questions could be like, what are the roles that these people are casting me in their movie? And do I actually want that role? Does that light me up? And, it could light you up short term, but, you might know that there's an expiry date on that, and every relationship has an expiry date. There's a cosmic expiry date, like the 7-year itch is a real thing. And I think these days it might even be 5 years that you can be with somebody, and then you have to re-up and renew the relationship. And I would say it's really, really important to be cognizant on a daily basis. Like, who am I being in this relationship? Who are they being in this relationship to me? Is this actually helpful to me? Does this feel valuable to me to be that role for that person? And yeah, you can re-up that relationship every single day even. And what's playful, what's fun, what's generative, what's happy even. It's not going to be perfect, but at the end of the day, if it's more playful than not, if it's more loving than not, then you are on the right track. But I would say, there can be patches in people's relationships where it doesn't feel loving. And one of the big questions is, like, what role am I being in this relationship? And like, who do I think I am in this relationship is a really great question too. Sovereign relationships, you have to have them. And, tomorrow we're going to end up talking about sovereign finances. And I would say sometimes what keeps people in relationships with people who are not a good match for them is your finances. And there are really, really simple things that you can start to do to turn that bus around. So we're going to talk about that. But also, if you are sovereign in your relationships and you are understanding yourself and how your aura is programmed and what you're here to be and do, then you can make a deep commitment to yourself that people don't get to take your energy from you. They don't. They don't get to take your talents from you. They don't get to take your intellectual property. They don't get to get their fangs in you. And oh my goodness, you guys, I've had so many relationships where I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize that that person was an energy vampire. I just didn't realize it. And there are a lot of people out there that are quite adept. They give you just enough energy that you feel like, wow, this is a fun relationship. But they still have their fangs in you. And, it's neither here nor there. Like, you have cosmic relationships because you have cosmic relationships. And, the mechanics, like if you look into how the human design charts go together, like what the plugins are, then you can know what the themes are of the relationship. And then also, like, what does your body tend to attract? You have these things called hanging gates. And so the hanging gates are just like, like an iPhone charger, just waiting for an iPhone to plug into it. And it's just mechanics. And so when you don't make it personal, you can collect the data, and then you can start to ask yourself these soul questions, and then make choices based on the data and the soul questions. And then also in the previous module, you're like building up your aura. So it's not that you have to like leave a toxic relationship. It's that you have to notice what poisons are going into the relationship and get rid of them. I mean, sometimes people don't have the capacity to grow as fast as you. They don't have they don't care. They don't want to. And when they've shown you that, then you have to believe them. You know, it's not just a red flag. It's a red flag parade sometimes. And you have to notice that and be clear and be sovereign enough and choose you, because we haven't been programmed. A lot of us, I know that I was never programmed to choose me first. Just wasn't. And so, you know, I've done a ton of work and I know what it feels like, and I know sort of the steps that people need to take in order to be able to begin to choose them. And here's the thing, what I said yesterday is when you start to choose for you and you start to choose for your body, then your aura gets programmed with that. And then when people come in with their old agendas, they're like, whoa, I can't even bring that old agenda. She's just not open to it. And I know she's not open to it. Maybe it doesn't even come in their thought process anymore. That's what I'm hoping for you. But if you don't get the facilitation to get yourself fully free, fully sovereign, we might be having this conversation sometime next year. And that's okay. I'm patient. But maybe you are not patient. Maybe this is your year to make some giant freaking changes. And that's cool. That's really cool. And to be in a community with people who are making giant freaking changes. There's that old book, Think and Grow Rich. And I will tell you, when you are in a community with people who are making giant freaking changes, you're able to make these giant quantum leaps together and care about each other and then be around people. There's also science about being around people who are successful and how that raises your success quotient. Like even having your desk next to somebody who is like a top producer raises your success quotient 15%. 15%. So you do the math, guys. What's 15% of a million? What's 15% of 10 million? What's 15% of 100 million? And would that be valuable to you? So tomorrow we're going to be talking about financial sovereignty and why that's super, super important. So that's my invitation. Please join me at 2:22 tomorrow afternoon Pacific Standard Time for financial sovereignty. I wonder if you'll join me. Super love you guys. Bye.